the last couple of years. I'm talking about David Coe, the CEO of Calm, the leading app for meditation and mindfulness, and a new author of his book, Recharge, that offers tips for the best mental wellness practices in today's digital world. The book has interviews with rappers, rebels, and innovators as he travels talking about stress, burnout, and feeling drained. If any of you are feeling stressed right now, this episode's for you. If you're feeling drained from work right now, this episode's for you. And if you need to recharge, this book and episode is for you. Please welcome to On Purpose, the CEO of Calm, David Coe. David, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Jay, for having me here today. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited because I really feel like ever since we met, I felt like we hit it off.
Right away.
Yeah. Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough to have you interview me so many times. So I'm glad I get to repay the favor this time round. And I wanted to ask you, just to get our blood boiling, just to start with some fun, I wanted to ask you, David, what's something that you're not calm about?
I think there's a lot of things that I'm not calm about throughout my day. I will tell you right now, I am in the throes of my oldest daughter applying to colleges. Even though I try to appear very calm in front of her and cool and collective, and you don't want to be like a helicopter type of parent. There are times where I'm just like, I want to get in there and say something, but I realize almost like the best thing for her is for her to go through it. And I have to kind of take a back seat. And so it's kind of going from where you take the wheel to like you're in the passenger seat and then you're in the back seat kind of peering every once in a while. But I can't help myself from like, I don't know, when she first learned to drive by like saying, oh, I'm stepping on the brake here and there, right? But that's one thing right now that is probably a little stressful.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. I read a study that said we process around 72 gigabytes of information per day.
Yeah.
Which the research likened to reading Tolkien's The Hobbit every single day. That's nearly 96,000 words.
Right.
And you think about that and you go, no wonder we're overwhelmed. No wonder we're burnt out. No wonder we're stressed. And you have this really brilliant analogy comparing the brain and our mind to a battery.
That's right.
Walk us through this because I really like this in your book, Recharge, the way you break it down and explain it.
The Recharge came from a good friend of mine. And we were talking about mental health. And I just asked her, I said, how's it going with your kids? And she goes, I was talking to my kids and I just said, how's your battery? And I was like, wait, what? And she goes, well, I said, how's your battery? I said, why? And she said, well, if I ask them how they're doing, I get the plain fine. And because they're kids, they're just like, I'm fine. But if I ask them like, how's your battery? They're like, well, it's at like 50%. Or so you may need a snack because they're little. Or it's at 75%. She's like, oh, you're okay. Or sometimes they're at 25% and they just need something, to decompress. While we were talking about it, a light bulb just went out. And that light bulb that went on was about like, she took something that at times can be charged and she took something and really simplified in a way that I think we would all understand, regardless of age. And I asked her, I was like, can I run with that? And she was like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? And we still laugh about it, Brenda and I, because she's like, wow, you actually took it. And I was like, yeah, I used it as a theme. I talk about it. I go to clients, I'll go out, and it just kind of resonates with people because it's simple and it doesn't kind of draw out any emotions. It just says like, hey, how's your battery? How are you feeling? And I think that sometimes that gets lost because we try to make it bigger sometimes than it is. And it's really nice when you can kind of just simplify it and just ask you, how's your battery? How you doing?
I love the question, how's your battery, even more than how you doing, like you said, because I think sometimes I think you also mentioned that we can scale everything up to a 10.
That's right.
So everything can feel like it's a 10, it's the worst. Or everything can feel like, oh, it's just plain old fine.
That's right.
And then you don't have much to play with. Whereas when you get a number, walk us through the different breakdowns as you do in the book.
Yeah.
Because I think when you look at 0 to 100, we're very good at feeling 0 and maybe 100, right? Like if it's your kid's wedding, chances are you'll be at 100. If it's like your kid's birthday, like you're at 100. Like there's these joyful,
100%.
blissful moments in life that people experience, and we go, yeah, that was a 100 moment. And then we all know what a 0 moment feels like. You lost a loved one who sadly passed away. You lost your job. Like there's these very 0 moments. Walk us through how you break down the 0 to 100.
Yeah, and I tried to do it really simply. I have found, and I'll talk about my own kids at times. When I ask them that question, how their battery is, I notice that they check, like most people, they check their phones quite often. And at some point, it just becomes like a reflex, and they don't even know they're checking it. But when they do look at it and the power's down, or it goes yellow, or it goes red, they get a little panicked. Like, oh my God, I got to charge it. Imagine my surprise when we're in like airports and they're like going up to people, can I use a little of your charge, right? Yeah. And I think we've all been there where we don't have a charger, and usually like, I need something. Can somebody help me out? Most times people are really kind and they'll just, kind of help you, especially if you're a kid. I thought about then putting it into zones, and I put it into 4 zones. And I just said, if you're at 75 to 100, you're probably fine. And meaning that, you're in a zone where you're just moving along. If you're at 50 to 75, you're probably in a place where you might need to start to think about how you may want to recharge. If you're in that 25 to 50, it's time to start figuring out, take a break. You may need to take a walk. You may need to put down the phone. You may need to stop the litany of Zoom calls that you're on right now, right? And if you find yourself 0 to 25, that's a real kind of indicator for you to say, hey, something's probably not right. And I need to really kind of take a hard stop and figure out how I recharge. And recharge can happen in a number of different ways. And so I've often talked about when I've gotten into that zone, I just kind of almost go for a walk. I sometimes go outside. I take some deep breaths. I do a number of things. Sometimes I may need a